the mid-1970s, a band emerged from the streets of East London that would change heavy metal forever. Formed in 1975 by bass player Steve Harris, Iron Maiden became one of the most influential forces in metal history. With galloping bass lines, soaring vocals, and epic storytelling, Iron Maiden inspired generations of musicians around the world. But their influence doesn't stop with their own music. Across the globe, tribute bands keep that spirit alive. In Chicago, one band has carried that torch for more than a decade. Formed in 2011, Maiden Chicago is an Iron Maiden tribute band, dedicated to recreating the power and energy of the original. For over 15 years, they've kept the music alive for fans across the Midwest. This is their story.
High school bands and stuff like that, but there were two primarily, like semi-professional bands, both original. So I hadn't done any covers prior to Maiden Chicago. So first was Condition 1, formed that inside the Marine Corps, and we all, when we got out, we got together up in McHenry and gave it the shot, trying to be rock stars. The poor, starving artist thing. I guess if you took Justice era Metallica, Pantera, and Dream Theater, and they had a baby, that's kind of what Condition 1 would be. And then that burned really hot and fast for a couple years. Then I want to say about 2004, I started writing for the second band, Psychus, also all original. That was kind of more of a heavy hard rock thing, Disturbed, Godsmack, that sort of thing. Seven Dust influences there. And did that from about 2005 all the way up into my time with Maiden Chicago.
Revelations. I replaced Brent Sullivan in. That was about 2.5 years run. I did some time playing with a band called Silent Lucidity, which was a Queensryche band. A lot of Maiden bands, a lot of half original, half cover bands.
Too many to remember at this point. But I was in Judas Beast before Maiden Chicago. We were doing Priest and Maiden. I was also in a band called Metallideath. We did Metallica and Megadeth. Done a lot of cover bands, a lot of tribute bands, some original stuff.
Going back to when I was younger, I wasn't in a lot of bands. I spent most of my time in a garage or the basement because I worked so much. Truthfully, other than jamming with John Yeager a little bit with Dave Klettenberg in a basement, Dave's basement. My first band playing out was Bravo. Did that with Johnny Bravo, Al Contreras, Dave Bravo, and then there was a lineup change where Dave Klettenberg came in for a while. That band was fun.
I guess I started as a frustrated guitar player at 15, 16 years old, and started heard first Iron Maiden album, and was into Roger Daltrey, The Who, and decided to start singing, and was hanging out with a buddy of mine, Dimitri, and we started jamming and ended up putting a band together. And actually our first bass player was Gary, Maiden Chicago, and that started a long multi-year thing with him and I writing together, mostly original, and having a band that did 50-50, I guess. And And after that, somewhere along in the early 90s, I answered an ad in the Entertainer for someone looking for a singer for an Iron Maiden tribute band. And, the band was called Tail Gunner. The first guy that we recruited, I think, was Brent Sullivan. No, we had another bass player. We did a couple of gigs, and Brent saw us at Jackhammers. And he's like, I'm going to be in your band. And I barely knew Brent at the time. And then Brent joined the band. He says, well, we got to change the name. So we changed the name from Tail Gunner to Revelations. So that band went on for a few years, and it was really good. And, a lot of different people in it. I think Gary ended up playing in it at the end there.
Yeah, I was pretty late to the party when it came to Iron Maiden. Wasn't like a fan in my youth, and I'm not sure why, if it was like a generational thing. Had a pretty good metalhead group of friends in high school and stuff, and like not one of them was into Iron Maiden. It was all Big Four, Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, I guess, Overkill later on, Sepultura and stuff like that, Pantera, but Maiden didn't really enter the fray. It wasn't until I was in Psychus, and I distinctly remember coming home from a practice, put my stuff away, sat on the couch, late, midnight or something like that, and it was Access TV had the Flight 666 show on. And I heard the classics of Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast and stuff like that, but I was sitting there watching the Flight 666 live footage and pretty much blown away, and I couldn't believe I had missed out for that long. Loved it almost immediately. So I just went around looking to see if there were some cover bands in existence, that maybe I could try out for. Hopefully they were looking for a guitar player, and couldn't find any, so I tried getting the guys in Psychus to play some Iron Maiden. I think I got Marty on board to do Number of the Beast, which we did in practice a couple of times, and he really wasn't feeling that too much. So I thought I would form my own.
Maiden Chicago was actually created on the Iron Maiden forum through Eric Babcock.
It was online, so I forget the name of the site now. Band Mix, maybe? Kind of sticks in my mind. Anyway, an online posting similar to the old school, like newspaper stuff. You just put a classified up there. And I just said, hey, looking to form an Iron Maiden tribute band. That was not, I fronted Condition 1 and Psychus. I pretty much knew. I have a baritone voice. I was not going to sing the world-class soprano vocals of Bruce Dickinson. I just really wanted to play guitar, which was something I kind of wanted to do anyway. I always got stuck into like doing the vocals and stuff, so I was like, I'm just going to do the Adrian Smith role. That's kind of who I connected with, and he had some good background vocals. I was like, I'll fit that role, but I just put something out there, see if anyone else was interested.
He actually posted something about if anybody would be interested in forming an Iron Maiden tribute band in Chicago, and it sparked my interest.
Yeah, he answered the ad and he was interested. And to say I formed Maiden Chicago, I had the idea and maybe initiated it, but when it comes to forming, I think Gary pretty much did the rest, right? So Gary answered the ad, he was interested, he had played in Maiden tributes before, loves Iron Maiden, and he knew everybody else, pretty much. So all I had to do was connect with Gary, and Gary kind of brought everyone else to the table.
It went well. We just discussed who we would pick and where we would go from there. We had to find 3 other musicians that were like-minded.
Gary brought everyone there. It wasn't long after that Gary, when he answered the ad, he said, I'm interested, let me reach out to some people I know. He had the connections. Any of the connections I had were pretty much in the original world, so it was pretty valuable. He had a lot of those connections in that world, and a lot of people specifically that liked Iron Maiden and had played Iron Maiden before. So I was kind of the rookie there.
I met Dan. He was running his amusement company down the street from where I was living, and I knew he was a drummer, so I asked him if he'd be interested in playing in an Iron Maiden tribute band. And he was all over it, and I'm glad he said yes.
I actually got the call from Gary Ingram. Asking if I wanted to join the band. I had met Gary through Al when they were in Metal Years, and I'd go see their shows. And I wanted to play in a project with Gary and Al, but it wasn't that one. They were already a solidified band. But when Gary approached me for Maiden Chicago, I was all in.
I actually got an invite for the Maiden Chicago Facebook page from Gary. Opened it up, clicked like on it, and I saw it was just basically, at the time, it was just Gary and Eric. Eric was doing the Adrian Smith, and obviously Gary was doing the Steve Harris. And I messaged Gary, I go, so I noticed you didn't have a Dave Murray yet. You looking? And he's like, why, you interested? And absolutely. And that's how we kind of, it was basically, you know, hey, I want it. And Gary was just like, cool.
Ralph, I believe he was doing Damage Justice. I know he was in Judas Beast also for a while back then. But yeah, Ralph was always one of the biggest Maiden fans I knew at the time, so it seemed like a no-brainer.
And meeting Eric for the first time, you knew he was a solid stand-up guy and driven with an idea.
I thought everyone was cool. I was meeting everyone for the first time. Some of them knew each other. You know, like say, I think everyone else knew each other, and I was just meeting them. But first impressions, I mean, everyone was cool. They didn't, you know, treat me like an outsider or anything else like that. Everyone was pretty happy. And then of course when we played, you know, we'll probably get to that, but a lot of mutual respect. Everyone obviously was able to play the stuff pretty well.
There was Facebook messages that had gone back and forth, and there was a time period where we had picked, I think, 10 songs for everybody to learn and rehearse on their own.
Basically, I think we just picked up maybe like 5 or 10 songs. But it was, you know, when we started playing, it was there. It was our, I jammed with Gary before. Did not know Eric from anywhere. Eric and I actually got together at his place before we went out and got together with Dan. And we hit it off right off the bat.
Gary had been in another Iron Maiden project before, so he was well versed. I was probably the most behind in having to learn that material, and I forget the time frame. It might have been around a month, 2 months before we actually got together to play those 10 songs. So I spent a lot of time learning those songs, and my buddy Al, who was in the other band, How I Met Gary, actually came down to the house and helped me learn the material, learn the songs. He would play along on the guitar so I could learn them, because I had never played those. I think I played Running Free live at one point in my life, but that was it.
We got together, I think the first time Gary, Eric, and I got together was when we auditioned Dan. And Dan was like I believe was just our one and only audition for a drummer. And we just knew right off the bat, Dan was our guy.
I remember it was fire from the get-go. I'll remember we started with Trooper, and you kind of know if you're vibing with a group or not, and the individual promise or prowess of the people you're playing with doesn't always mean you're going to have some chemistry, but that was relevant, probably, or I should say evident, in 30 seconds of the Trooper. I think everyone kind of knew we've got something here. this is slam, and there's a vibe, it had the energy. Everything was accurate. I mean, playing the notes and being able to execute the music is kind of core competency stuff. So it's just, are you bringing that right type of energy, that vibe, that swagger or whatnot? And what I remember is we had it. When we were, probably before we were even done with the Trooper, I just knew, like, there's something here.
Pretty exciting. I mean, we were all in Bourbonnais at Dan's place, and we just didn't know what to expect, and we could tell that it would be good. It was just a good vibe.
I don't remember what songs we did, but it felt natural as soon as we started playing, and we knew we were a good fit. And that's the thing you kind of look for with jamming with people too, you know. Which is really cool if you get that right off the bat.
So one of the first people we brought down is Bill Swanson, who is an absolute spitting image of Bruce Dickinson live, right? I mean, his vocals, it sounds it's spot on. And then I knew that as we were playing, and as tall of as an order as it was, I didn't vibe with Bill in the beginning. You know, I thought, I don't know if we're gonna vibe super well in a band together. You know, just personalities and stuff like that. It could have just been a couple of alphas, right? You get a couple of alphas together and sometimes you butt heads and it doesn't work out.
We originally approached Bill Swanson first.
Gary Ingram reached out to me and says, we're doing an Iron Maiden tribute band called Maiden Chicago. We want you to sing. And I'm like, I'm not interested.
For whatever reason at the time, he wasn't interested. He passed on it. So we went to auditions.
And so we kind of continued the search, and that didn't go super well. I've got a lot of them. I recorded, I think, all of them. We went through, and there were a couple that were okay, and there were a couple that you had to wonder why they thought they could sing Bruce Dickinson. Like, I've sang lead in quite a few bands. I don't have any illusions that I can sing lead in an Iron Maiden tribute band, and a couple people we had down there were kind of in that category.
It was like all bad episodes of American Idol. We had probably 6 months of auditions.
Oh man, we've had quite a few that we never thought we would have. You know, you name it, from people just doing spoken word to people trying to buy their way into the band with a box of donuts.
And we had all kinds, all walks of life show up here at the house, the rehearsal spot at the time, what we deemed MCHQ. And some people showed up, couldn't sing, and just spoke all the words. One person showed up, super nice fella, brought us all pastries and donuts. Another guy was so nervous he broke the microphone clip right off the mic stand while he was trying to sing, holding it so tight. I think we actually stopped in the middle of the song and threw him out.
It's like, come on. He says, you're the perfect guy. Like, I like to do other things other than be Chicago's Bruce Dickinson. And so we went back and forth, and they had tried out other singers. Didn't connect with any of them, I guess, from what I hear. And then he called me, a couple months later and says, we want to do a recording as a promo and maybe shoot a video or do some kind of promo so we can launch the band. So how are you going to launch the band without a singer? He goes, well, we want you to record to do the vocal.
Yeah, it was 6 months of thinking that we were never going to get the project off the ground because we couldn't find the right guy. The right guy, we kept saying had to be out there. And at the time, we wanted it to be Bill, but Bill didn't want to do it. And so looking in other directions, we just weren't finding it.
It got to a point where, I don't know, like we had that first jam in October of 10, and we just kept getting tighter and adding songs to the catalog, and we were auditioning singers the whole time, and it just wasn't happening. And I want to say we were 4 or 5 months in and just didn't have any prospects. So we asked Bill to come back.
And I'm like, son of a bitch, you're gonna rope me into this, aren't you? And so I agreed to it. And we did a rehearsal and it went well. And I guess it just kind of lit a fire in me. And off we were, off to the races. And we started Maiden Chicago. And I just went, joined Maiden Chicago.
So luckily, Bill answered the call when we needed him.
It was a sigh of relief because I had already known what a quality singer he was and what a good guy he actually was. So to get all the qualities in a decent person was really important to me. And I had said it from the very beginning, and I say it still today, that I want to play in a band with people I like and enjoy being around.
And went through a couple of singers. We finally talked Bill into doing the Maiden stuff again. And of course, Bill came back and we were off to the races.